Hey, welcome back to another edition of DU Crossover. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We are going into and talking to Jaime Bartlett, the founder of the 509 Syndicate for the Spokane Velocity and the Spokane Zephyr. Of course, the Hearts of Pine are going to be facing Spokane Velocity this weekend. And I had an opportunity to talk some women's soccer with Jaime Bartlett and could not pass up the opportunity. Jaime, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here, even if we face you guys this weekend.
Yeah,
I think last time we ended 0-0, so we'll see how this works out.
Yeah, it was early in the year, and
Yeah,
we had a cup match. I think it was like midweek, and we had to travel all the way out to the West Coast to face you guys.
we're pretty far.
And that was a 0-0. For USL League One, I dare say, I think it's the longest trip for USL League One, I think, is Portland to Spokane. So
I
uh,
believe that.
a lot of
Yeah.
long miles on a short week. And then we had to come back. I think we had another cup match we had to do, and then we had to go down to Georgia. And yeah, we racked up the miles early on. We paid it up front, if you will, when it comes to traveling on the mileage side of things.
Yeah, we're a big country.
Yeah, we certainly are. Um, One last thing on that, we actually right about the same time frame we did that just before we come out to you guys. We ended up getting a Japan player from Yokohama, Japan, and he
Oh,
traveled. He traveled all the way over from Japan. That cup match I was talking about, he just pretty much went up and said, "Hi, everybody, I'm your new player," and he didn't play. And then like 3 days later, he flew out to Spokane, and he wasn't going to start. And he ended up having to start and give us an hour. And I think I figured it out when he went from Yokohama to Chicago, Chicago to Portland, wave, go over to Spokane. I think he logged somewhere around 9,500 flight miles. And
yeah.
yeah,
Did he do
yeah,
all right? How was his game? Was he okay?
he looked like a player that logged 9,500 flight miles.
Okay. Yeah,
He's a
that's brutal.
he's a really good player. He's a really good player for us. Masashi Wada, who wears number 77.
Okay.
He's our cam, the very creative midfielder, just
Nice.
behind the strikers and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, he went out there and he looked like a brand new player in a brand new club that was tired. But
Yeah.
he did us a favor, and we certainly appreciate his time out there. But yeah, I figured that was worth bringing up. That was crazy.
Nice.
So Jaime, certainly want to get into a little bit of the 509 Syndicate backstory.
Mm.
Um, can you tell us a little bit about how the 509 came about?
Yeah, it's funny. So I am not from Spokane. I moved here in 2021. And the week that I moved here is the week they announced that there would be teams coming. We didn't know what they would look like or what types of teams, but USL had said that Spokane was going to be a site of some future teams. And I was like, great, I'm moving here. And I was leaving Minneapolis at the time, which is a great soccer town, and was feeling really bummed about leaving that. And so I immediately tried to figure out and start stalking people who were involved with that project to try to get involved. And I was like, I'm a soccer coach, I'm a professor in exercise science. Like, how can I get involved? And there wasn't really anything to do because there wasn't a team yet. So in 2021, at that point, they were figuring it out. I think at that point they knew there'd be a men's USL 1 team, and it was proposed a W League team, which is sort of the semi-pro women's league.
Right.
USL Super League was just coming out, so we didn't really know that was in existence. And so subsequently, when that launched, it was like, great, we're going to have a pro women and a pro men's team here, without much to do because the team didn't even have branding or names
Mm-hmm.
or anything yet. I had put a call out to folks through the USL front office that existed at the time, which is very different than what it is now.
Right.
And said, hey, anyone who wants to get together and form a supporters group, let's meet up at this bar at this date and time and see what we can get going. And 8 people showed up at that first meeting. I think 2 of us from that first meeting are for sure still involved, and maybe a few others. that was in 2023 by the time fall of 2022 and early 2023 when that actually first meeting happened. So from there, we just started putting it together of like, who had been involved in supporters groups in the past. I actually hadn't. I've been involved in nonprofits, and so I understand that side of the house. But I had never really been involved directly in a supporters group. And so we had other people, especially because we're kind of close to the Sounders and the Timbers, who had experiences from that said, hey, let's try to get this together. Let's talk about this. And slowly started to put the wheels on a moving car, which is still moving and broken. But and mostly it's just because the pace of it, now we have 2 teams that we're trying to support. They're going full force. Velocity last year went pretty far, so that meant our season also was longer. With the 2 teams, it means we don't have a long off season as far as the supporter group goes, because there's pretty much always a team playing, except for in about a month, maybe 2 months, I would say, between Christmassy and February. It's kind of the only time we don't have games. And so that's just kind of that was sort of the starting point. And we've had some folks that have really jumped in and try to figure out what we need to do. We are officially a 501c3 nonprofit. So we at least got that side of the house taken care of. We've managed to execute some TIFOs. We have a relationship with the team. We have a supporter section in the stadium now that's ever changing. But yeah, and we have up to, I think right now, we just had our board meeting yesterday. I think we're at 109 members. So we're getting there. Yeah, so we're getting there. Yeah.
Okay, ask you just a very basic question. Where did the 509 Syndicate come from? The naming.
The name.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 509 is our area code.
Yep.
So that's a good starting point. It really just came about from spitballing a little bit. And in fact, the location of the stadium is also, I believe, 509 Boone. So we're like, perfect, 509 works. Syndicate, we had, if you think about a syndicate, it sounds tough. So I think, honestly, people just liked the sound of it. The early stickers that we had were very Godfather soccer-esque.
Sure.
And so we sort of put it together in that way. And it's just kind of stuck. It sort of was a name we threw out as what would be a name of a group of people. And that's where we landed. So there wasn't anything too profound about the name other than that. And the 509 area code covers basically Eastern Washington. Right.
Gotcha. So there was some fun stuff that you guys do on socials with the stickers and like feeding it into like I believe it's like a ram's head or a sheep's head or something like that.
It's the garbage goat. So,
the garbage goat.
See.
There we go.
There we go.
Yep.
There's our angry version. Yeah. So if you're ever in Spokane, you have to come visit the garbage goat.
I will.
It is a metal statue that is in our sort of main downtown riverfront park. It was built in the 70s by a nun because Spokane was home to the World's Fair in 1974, which was the first World's Fair that was focused on sustainability. And so at the time, they were doing a lot of sustainability stuff as they were revitalizing the downtown riverfront. And this garbage goat is essentially just a trash vacuum. So the sculpture that quite literally was built by a nun, you go over and you push a button and you can put trash in it. So it's just to encourage people in the park to pick up their trash. It's fun. Kids love it. And someone had the idea in one of our first meetings before the Velocity season started that, it'd be really funny if we took the other team's logo and fed it to the garbage goat. And from there, we were like, well, now we have to do this for every single game. And it's funny because in that first season, it started, we kept ramping it up and we felt like we had to get crazier and crazier. Yeah. The mayor of Spokane did the first one for the Zephyr season. When the Zephyr season kicked off, she came in, participated, and we've had other people, different nonprofit groups do it as well. And so we kind of can cross over socials. But that also became quite the burden to have to keep making those videos and editing them. So if you notice our current ones, you'll see that there's snow in the background. And it's because at one point in the off season, we just printed out all of the team logos and just fed them to the garbage go at once. So we at least had a backup. We'll probably do some more fun, crazy ones, but yeah, we got a little out of hand with those last year.
Why make it a weekly thing and burden yourself with that, right? Just get all of them together, and we're just going to clip this one
Yeah.
after the other after the other. It's smart. It's a good
Yeah,
way
I
of
mean,
doing
they're
it.
hilarious. They were fun. Jonathan, who's the president of the syndicate, he was at that first meeting.
Yeah.
Him and I were, and his best friend, Jed, who does a lot of film editing. So I got to shout out to Jed because he does all of our video work. They were constantly coming up with crazy ones, and so they're pretty fun. It's not sustainable when you have real jobs.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah.
Certainly down in Division 3 and the men's side of things and whatever. Certainly everyone has got a 9 to 5 basically, both
Oh,
on
for
the
sure.
field and off the field, and in the SGs. And I don't believe it's probably much different on the Super League side of things.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a job, and like we said a little bit off air, this is for the love of the game, if you will. Right?
Yes. Yes. Still love it. I promise.
So Jamie, just the one thing that I did want to kind of ask you about a little bit is in kind of going into a little bit of the SG structure and operations, and previously you kind of talked about supporting two clubs and the difference in schedules between a European schedule with the Zephyr, which
Mhm.
basically goes from like August to May.
Right.
And compared to the current schedule of what USL League One runs, which is like that March to basically playoffs go into like November, mid-November,
Right.
somewhere in that neighborhood. So if you're having a really good season, you're playing in November on USL League
Yeah.
One. But you talked about the overlap, and you talked about really only having about a month and a half ish, somewhere in that neighborhood of where no teams are playing. So it's pretty much like a 10 month, about a 10 month supporters cycle, I would say,
Yep.
um, for both of these teams. Can you help us with a little bit on that SG structure and the operation part of it? What that looks like to support these two clubs for, let's basically say, year round.
Yeah, it's harder than we thought it would be. So
Yeah.
if your city decides to have two teams, I would say it's probably better to have two supporter groups or have a large enough supporter group that you could almost segment operations on some level, with some overlap. So there's not, where there's redundant things. Because it's pretty tough. And you guys are probably get this as well. Because we're new and the team didn't exist before, a lot of ways we're introducing the town of Spokane to soccer. And particularly in our city, we have other teams here. So we have a minor league hockey team, a minor league baseball team. We have Gonzaga basketball. And so when those things are in season, people are pretty busy. And plus, you get people who like soccer, have kids who play soccer. And so their weekends get busy oftentimes, particularly in the summer. And so it's pretty tough. We basically have had to scale our expectations. So when we first went into it, velocity started first. And so we had sort of a pace of what we were doing, kind of like we said with the garbage go. And we ramped up those things. And then once Zephyr started that fall, we suddenly were like, oh no, this is a lot of work having to support both teams with the same people.
Yeah.
And then Velocity made a run in the playoffs all the way to the final, which we were just as surprised as everybody else to get that far. And so it's pretty tricky, in part because most of it means is if you have any other interest of doing stuff outside of match day, it gets pretty tough because you spend so much time doing match day.
Right.
And when there's back-to-back matches, it means dropping stuff off at the stadium, marches to the match. A game day becomes 5-6 hours long of activity. And if those are overlapping, that's a lot per week. So we just had a home match for Velocity this last weekend. We won, yay.
Nice.
And our next home match is September 6th, and that is the opening weekend for Zephyr's home match as well. So Velocity and Zephyr will be both playing on Saturday and Sunday, which we all just at our board meeting just kind of sighed and go, okay, so who's going to do drop off? Who's going to do et cetera. So it's pretty tough. And I would say that's probably been the biggest bump in the road, is just it's hard to sustain enthusiasm over time when you have to try to keep that pace. And so, and I would say the team's seen that too. Both of the teams, the excitement of last year, I would say attendance took a dip. And I think that's pretty normal, but it also means our supporter group attendance took a dip too. Right. And so suddenly the same people are having to do even more work than they thought they were going to do. Yeah. So it's tough. So it's doable if you try to support two. I think it's okay to have the hard conversation and say maybe there should be two separate supporter groups, one for each team, and we can be friends and we can overlap and we can share, musicians and equipment or whatever. But it's tough to support that and keep your brain focused on it too. To be like, wait, which match is going on? Which watch party are we doing? Things like that. It's difficult.
Yeah, it sounds like what you're describing, and looking in the rearview mirror, and then the learning bumps, if you will, going through it the hard way the first time through, and all that is, and you already spoke to it, and is maybe having two different SGs, so two chairs, two if you have co-chairs, then four, if you will, so two on each side or whatever that looks like, and all the way down through, and if you got the people to do it, it sounds like that would probably be the best way. And whether it's all underneath one umbrella, and there's still the 509 Syndicate for both sides of the house, but everyone inside the 509 understands, this is the women's side, this is the men's side. We got different co-chairs for different sides of the house. It depends on, you want to talk about the men's side, all right, you got to talk to this person. You want to talk about women's side, all right, you got to come over and talk, and then just running all the way down through. And the understanding is, when we can, we're going to come over and support you, and vice versa. We're going to come over and support you when we can. But, home games, away games, sometimes you can go ahead and pile in and support one team at home. It all depends on what that looks like going forward. And like you said, equipment, musical instruments, at some point, you're probably going to get to a stage where you're like, okay, this is the women's stuff, this is the men's stuff, but maybe a little sharing along the way until you can get to that point. Have you experienced any of that at all?
We haven't split anything yet. And I would say our core board of people who do most of the work for 509 Syndicate, there's probably about, on our executive board, we have 5 folks. Then there's another 5 folks that make the rest of our main board. And that's kind of our core group.
Sure.
All those folks are going to both games and care about both teams. Within the 509 Syndicate, we definitely have folks, some who only go to the Velocity games, some who only go to the Zephyr games. And so we've seen that split happen with our members or just people we know.
Yeah.
But our board right now makes the effort to support both teams sort of equally.
Of course.
And so we haven't had that split or even a conversation of that split yet. It more happens, you and I talked about this over email where, when it comes to the Velocity games, I go there to support the supporters group, and the players, I'm not really paying that much attention to the tactics of the game.
Right.
I watch it and I get excited. Whereas with the Zephyr side, I feel like I want to focus more on the game itself, which you guys probably know is tough if you're trying to beat on drums and keep people organized. Then you sort of do this. What
certainly.
happened?
Exactly. What just happened? Yeah.
My brain splits a little bit that way personally. And so, I foresee that maybe at some point, if we get big enough, we maybe internally have some sort of focus split type of thing so that people can also watch the game, right? And not just have to be working every game in some manner. That said, I still love our Velocity guys, and I love our coach. I mean, Velocity has picked up a great coach in Coach Wiedemann, and I've been super impressed the way he has kind of put that team together. Even last year, if you look at the run that we made last year, our numbers were pretty depleted, and I mean, to me, that was a coaching win right there.
Yeah, on the Velocity side of things, you guys having a pretty good 2 years. Year number 1.
We're doing okay right now.
Year number 1, you go to the final. Year number 2, you're having a great year and currently sitting top of the league with the last third of the regular season basically in front of us. So
Yeah.
yeah, you're doing all right. You're doing all
Yeah.
right.
And you guys, it looks like I was looking today. You guys are in the middle of the table. You're kind of where we were at, I feel, this time last year ish.
Yeah, I took a peek at the final standings, going into the playoffs, anyways.
Yeah.
And you guys finished seventh
Hmm.
last year in your inaugural year. So yeah, we're kind of floating around that same spot, and hopefully we'll
Yep.
have the same luck. And yeah, if we finish sixth or seventh in the regular season, and we get into the playoffs and we get hot like you guys did, um, yeah, we'll be good with that. We'll be good
Yeah.
with that.
I don't want you to get 3 points this weekend, but you can do it the rest of the time.
Yeah, that's why I say for everybody, it's like, yeah, we want you to get some points, we want you to have a good year, but we just don't want it to happen in this weekend, right?
Yeah. 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 Definitely.
So just kind of get it a little bit into, maybe a little bit of a summary of kind of what the Spokane Zephyr did
Yeah.
last year in their very first year, and kind of what that was. We talked from an SG side of things, and we can still dip back into that well if need be as we're going through the summary and kind of the things that you guys had to learn and go through in year one supporting the Spokane Zephyr in the USL Super League. And after the summary, maybe just kind of getting into kind of how things are shaping up and getting ready to go into year two here in the next couple of
Year
weeks.
two. Yeah. Yeah, year one was great. I mean, I don't think I knew what to expect. I've been following women's soccer for 25 years. I lecture on some of the growth of this, and if you're not familiar, there's been other professional leagues that have existed in the United States that have failed. The NWSL has been around over a decade and probably hit its stride 2-3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Where I would say it was truly a successful league. So when they announced that there was going to be a Division One comparable league with the USL, I was excited as a fan. I was excited that Spokane was going to have a team. Selfishly, I was excited that there's players. There's so much talent in the United States, and it often has to go overseas. So I was really excited for players to have another spot to play at home. I wasn't sure what that was going to look like competition wise. And I would say that's reflected in what the league looked like. It was very up and down, across the board. I think all the teams playing had growing pains. Some teams started out crushing it and then just collapsed. We sort of started out in the middle last fall. And then by the time we hit that winter break, I think we were either seventh or eighth. I can't remember what exactly we were coming out of the break. We were somewhere at the bottom of the table. It looked pretty gloomy. We had a number of ACL injuries, a number of other injuries that had sidelined players that right from the beginning, who probably were going to be high impact players. And so going into the spring half of the season, we weren't sure, but Zephyr went on a tear. Basically, we picked up Allie Cook over the break, and she became a pretty high impact player. I think having her up front with Amina Ekic and Mackenzie Weiner were allowed more goals to finally happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so we made a big push where basically us making the playoffs came down to the very last game of the season, which unfortunately we didn't pull off. And so we didn't end up in the playoffs after that. But I think had we had maybe one more week of games, we would have been there.
Mm-hmm.
But that progress was impressive. So it was pretty exciting end of the season in the spring. The summer was a little daunting. So our coach, we lost our coach. She went back to coach at the college level. And we still do not have a coach with, I think, not even 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks going to the start of the season. We have an interim coach, Josh McAllister, who's been with the team, both teams, for the past 2 years. But that's a little shaky. Yeah. And then we lost a number of our players, including Amina Ekic, who was player of the year last year. I think 4 of our players went to Lexington. So Lexington spent some money this offseason and picked up a number of folks. And no hard feelings to those players. We're just really sad that they left. So both Weiner and Ekic from that front line left. as well as a couple of others. And so we've signed some new players, but it looks like a lot of our signings are kind of coming from that, just out of college, a little bit of an unknown sort of background. So to be honest, we don't know what year 2 is going to look like. I feel pretty bluntly a little nervous about it, but you know what? I felt nervous last year too.
Yeah.
There were so many unknowns, and this year the unknowns are just different unknowns. We have new players. We don't know their names yet. We're not sure what kind of tactics we're going to throw out there. We don't even know what the shape's going to be. We've retained a couple of great players, including our goalkeeper, who was goalkeeper of the year. She's a great player, and Hope Heisey. So, it's going to just kind of be, I have a feeling it's just going to be bumpy. And I don't think our team is unique in that. I think there's a new team in the Super League with Jacksonville. So Florida has now 3 teams.
It's always the way with Florida, isn't it?
Friggin' Florida.
It's the same thing on the men's side. I think we're going to have like 4 here pretty soon. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm kind of over that, but I get it. It's a warm place to play. I just need them to. You guys probably feel this way too. Come play in the cold a little bit.
That's right.
Let's go, Florida.
That's right.
Yeah, come play where it snows. So we'll see. It's tough because we are so far away. We are the farthest west team. So I think our closest team is Dallas.
Yeah.
That means our players have a pretty heavy burden of having to travel a lot. That gets thrown on them across, having to play everybody on the East Coast. And like I said, the closest being Dallas. And so I think our players probably have a little bit heavier load when it comes to that, when it comes to travel and sleep disruption.
Sure.
And I think if it's a player, say, coming out of college, they're not used to that. They're not used to that pace. They're not used to that difficulty. So I have a feeling it's going to be a messy season, but I'm here for it. I'm here to see some of these new players that haven't had a chance to play yet, to get some minutes. I think the Super League is valuable for that. We've seen some Super League players that have bounced back to NWSL. There was a Dallas player that was in the U.S. women's national team camp. So, that's a big deal. I think the landscape of women's soccer is moving in the right direction. It's just going to be really bumpy along the way.
Yeah. So, one thing you talked a little bit about, playing in the snow, and we talked already about having that European calendar, if you will. And can you just talk about a little bit during those winter months, from your perspective, year 1, anyways, on what that looked like on the pitch in some of the more northern cities and markets and stuff as you guys played your very first season? Any snow stories, if you will?
No, we didn't. So Spokane isn't too bad. It can get dumped on. But by the time we ended in November, early December, we hadn't had a big snow yet. And then when they started back up in February, and I think they were strategic about the schedule of when home games were going to be here in Spokane. And so when we started back up in February, some of those games are very cold. Like they're, you're not happy. We play on a turf field. And so the pitch is going to be essentially the same, just colder. So that does affect the bounce a little bit, but nothing dramatic. We haven't had a big snow game yet. I don't know how they'll address that when we do. It's just, it can be pretty brutally cold, and it's dark. So I don't know if we're more north than you guys, but our sunset in the middle of winter is before 4 p.m. It's about 3:45. So I think that's the hardest part, is it's just a pretty dark place to be, and cold. Yeah. But we don't get a lot of snow. We don't have heavy snowfall.
Okay.
Relatively.
So the other piece was, you mentioned going into this year, without a coach, at least initially right now, within the next week or so, maybe one could be announced and you go in your regular season, maybe a little bit on the learning curve, if you will, possibly a tough first part of the season might be in front of you. When it comes to the Super League in terms of end of year decision on who wins it all type deal, can you walk us through that a little bit with the people that may not be familiar with the Super League and the structure of it? Is it kind of like a a home and away, a European table
Yep.
type thing, and it's that easy.
It's that easy. Yeah. Home and away. So last year there was 8 teams. This year there's 9 teams.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the outlook looks like going forward, but it was total points. USL did have some funky things with, and this is why we didn't make the playoffs. And I'm trying to remember what it was, but they do something a little odd with their point structure, where it's has something to do with like head to head. When you have a tie on points. And so
Okay.
we actually had a tie on points, but there was something with like the head to head instead of, the normal differentials that you look at,
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah,
because USL decided to be.
instead of goal differential, it sounds like maybe you have a best out of, if you will,
Uh-huh.
for head to head.
Yep.
And
And
I think
which is, way.
I think last year you guys played 28 games, so you probably went home and away twice to
Yep.
everywhere. Yeah,
Yep. Just because we, have so few teams.
sure.
And so then it was top 4 were in the playoffs. And so they went from there. Pretty simple structure. Carolina won it last year. They were kind of the dominant team overall, I would say, throughout the season. So they won, they were top of the table, and then they won this playoff situation. And that's pretty much all we have. Like, I think I would imagine at some point I could see some cups being established, with between the NWSL, the USL Super League, and maybe even some of the lower divisions, the USLW League and NWSL's attempt. They're going to attempt a second division, although I haven't seen much conversation around that since they initially announced it. So I could see some future cup stuff happening, which would give some more opportunity. But right now it's pretty straightforward. Games, points, there's a shield, and then a playoff with 4 teams, which I imagine they'll keep 4 teams, even though they've grown to 9.
I would think so, yeah. So there is a playoff at the end of the year to crown the champion. Talk to us a little bit about that playoff structure. Is it just pretty much single elimination, or is that also a home and away?
It was single elimination, so 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3.
Yep.
And home field based on 1 and 2.
Okay.
And so it was at their home stadiums, so there wasn't any independent sites or anything like that. It was pretty straightforward. I was actually out of the country when it happened, so I was like, I didn't get to watch any of it.
So the final is played at basically the highest seeds home field, I would assume.
Yeah, and that was Carolina.
And they won it all.
Yeah, and they have a lot of support. I mean, Carolina has a pretty long history of supporting women's soccer. They have the North Carolina Courage not too far away, and so they have a good structure there in place for people to play soccer and support it. So it worked out for them. We would have liked to have hosted the game. That would have been amazing. I might have come home. I was in Columbia at the time, so I was like, maybe I'll fly back for that.
Yeah, certainly any first year for any league that gets started, there's always the bumps and the dips and all that sort of stuff. So USL Super League is certainly going through the same thing that any other league in their first year has ever done. So, and they'll continue to do so over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever. But it's all part of kind of getting your feet underneath you and getting established and kind of working the kinks out, so to speak, right? So, this is certainly not uncharted territory when it comes to first year soccer clubs and first year leagues kind of getting going and getting started.
And I try to remind folks, because some people have come to women's soccer or women's sport only in the last few years, so they haven't lived the growing pains that were women's sports even 10 years ago, where you couldn't find anything on a station. There were, nothing was televised. And so, it's a good problem that we have all these teams. It's messy, but it's no worse than any of those other leagues were in the past, and it's probably better. And so, the USL at least has the NWSL to learn from and their mistakes and trying to do things better. And I think some of the things they put into place are better. And so, I think when you have that bigger perspective, it's easier to say. And I would say the same of USL's men's side. You look at MLS. I don't even follow MLS. People ask me all the time if I support the Timbers or the Sounders, and I was like, I don't care about men's soccer. I definitely do not care about MLS. I was like, I support the Velocity and I support women's soccer. So I think the MLS has taught us all kinds of ways on how to not do this. And so I do appreciate USL's looking at pro relegation. I think that's going to be super fun for Americans to learn and get involved in. And I hope the women's side, kind of on the USL, like pulls from that and says, this is what fans want. Let's do it right. So,
yeah. And to your point on the men's side, right? USL League One on the men's side didn't exist prior to 2019, right? So, here we are in year 6 for the USL League One on the men's side of the house. And, within the last couple of years, you've really started to see the competition get a lot better on the USL League One side of the house. And, USL Super League is under the same USL umbrella as League One and League Two and the Championship and soon to be men's Division One side of the house. So, all in the same boat. Got a lot of people that can help out with the development of the Super League. So, rough waters in the first year or two, but I think we're all in the same house together, and certainly want to see the Super League succeed and be successful going forward. So I think a lot of good things in the corner of the Super League.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, cool stuff. There's a lot of talent across both leagues. I think it's been really fun to watch.
All right, Jamie, I certainly want to thank you for your time, kind of winding down on the crossover here.
Thanks for having me.
For the women's edition of the Spokane Zephyr. Certainly want to give you an opportunity, Jamie, to plug away on the socials or anything that you have where we can find you, the 509 Syndicate and even the Spokane Velocity. Jamie?
Yeah, check out, I think the best place is find our Instagram, the 509 Syndicate. You can check out our website. We are a nonprofit, so we do a lot of community activities when we can, but at the very least, find our Instagram and you can see our garbage goat feeding videos. Those are pretty fun. And if you ever have any great ideas, if your team is coming to town, let us know. We actually have a great supporter section that's right at midfield. So if you are coming to visit, and play our team, we are very friendly. We have hosted some other teams. I think even Hearts of Pine folks came, but they weren't actually the nicest to us. I know we could see you guys coming with your, LL Bean jerseys on. So, but we welcome folks to come. We, as a supporter group, very intentionally try to be inclusive and friendly, even during the 90 minutes. So. We can all universally just hate the refs. So.
I think you got to find a lot of people agreeing with you on that one, especially.
Yeah, that's the worst part. The fans are great, the refs are terrible. Yeah, so come check us out. We're way the heck in the Pacific Northwest, but it's pretty fun and pretty here.
All right, Jamie, thank you very much for us to have a little bit of conversation about the Spokane Zephyr USL Super League and a little bit about the women's game and certainly the structure of the SG and the things maybe you would do a little bit different in the past. Certainly something for the Dirigo Union to take a look at as we go forward. And our ownership of the Hearts of Pine has made it very, very well known that they very much do want to get a women's team on the pitch wearing the Hearts of Pine logo. So I think it's a matter of when, not if, that the Hearts of Pine will be fielding a women's team. So thank you very much for your time, Jamie. Certainly a lot of good information, kind of sent over the nation, if you will, over to the state of Maine, and we certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Shawn. Thanks for having me. I'll be rooting for you guys.
All right.
Not this weekend.
Not this weekend.